Hello, world. I'm A. Prince Albert III. I am the founder, president, and CEO of Goldwater Ventures. Goldwater Ventures is a consulting partner to mission-driven organizations and social entrepreneurs worldwide. Our mission is to empower people to solve social problems. In line with that mission, we proudly introduce the Goldwater Innovative Minds Promoting Ambitious Cultural Transformation Club, or the Goldwater IMPACT Club. The Goldwater IMPACT Club is a dynamic peer mentorship organization tailored for early career professionals who are passionate about social good, public policy, and entrepreneurial spirit. The Goldwater IMPACT Club empowers forward-thinking individuals dedicated to driving significant and ambitious changes in society and culture. The program is an ideal fit for individuals who embody our core principles, our inherent worth of life principle, our commitment to authentic partnership, and our inclusive leadership culture. Today, we have Charles E. Morrison, our inaugural
How you
Goldwater
doing?
IMPACT
Yes,
Fellow.
sir.
We're also going to soon be announcing the Goldwater IMPACT Club's first inaugural cohort in a few weeks. But Charles, as the fellow, you are in a very unique place
Yes, sir.
because you are working on academic projects, right, that align with Goldwater Ventures, our mission, and our purpose. So first, I just want the world to get to know you, okay? So
Thank
like just
you.
good vibes, the same good vibes that you've always given me, okay? I want you to give and show the world who you are, all right?
Right.
So I want to know first, what about Goldwater's vision do you understand? What about the vision attracts you? Just talk me through
Right.
that.
Okay. So what I mainly understand about Goldwater Ventures is that it allocates and advocates for marginalized communities. Is basically the fight for life. Through the core values of being, with authentic partnership, leadership, and just empowerment. It challenges the overall norm of how a firm is ran. Because Goldwater Ventures not only uses private sector entrepreneurial actions, but also public sector as well, in order just to get what's needed for those communities. What attracts me to the mission is basically just a fight for life. I mean, it's the passion to fight for equity. It's the passion to fight for change. To be able to um have that fundamental and have that foundation, and that to be able to put my ideas into action, that's what mainly attracts me to Goldwater's vision.
Thank you, Charles. And I want to hear, what does it mean to you to be our inaugural Goldwater Impact Fellow? I will tell you just to kind of start you off. I've been super impressed with you and urban planning in particular as your background.
Thank you.
Right, because you are literally out in the field building communities in the very
Right,
physical sense.
right.
So just what are you bringing to us? And what are you studying academically right now? And what does it mean to be the inaugural Goldwater Impact Fellow from an urban studies background?
Right. So, overall, with coming from a urban planning side, overall, my goal is to make change. Um, so being an impact fellow in itself now, as well as being in this career field and through networking and that also doing my studies, it gives me that asset needed in order to start my career, start off, making my goals count on community development and coastal resilience. So those are my primary focuses, especially what I'm studying now. I'm studying between not just the planning theory, but also the planning application, learning about how we can aim for cultural sustainability, but also economic growth. Then they're also, using, one of the amazing tools, RGIS, them that being able to use a lot of the technology that we have today in order to solve the issues that we have now.
That's awesome, Charles. And I've always just kind of been impressed by how you talk about and delve into the technology, right?
Thank
My
you.
background as a technology policy expert, lobbyist, right? Technology is super important, and we're always talking about people and equity.
Right.
But really you are using technology. You're like a positive use case for it, right? Using technology to literally build communities, which is pretty awesome.
Thank you.
Um, I want to know, you've hinted at a little bit of it, but what changes do you want to make in the world? I just want to hear about like your worldview and
Right.
how you want to tackle that through
Right.
urban planning.
Overall, with through urban planning, that also using my background with business management, the changes I really want to make is to fight for, again, coastal resilience and that also Afro-Indigenous land. And then I want to be able to focus on the primary issue of gentrification, of that the rising issue of climate gentrification that's going on now, which is one of the biggest force drivers of displacing not only African Americans but also people of color. Um, it's basically to fight for the equity of marginalized individuals, and that just to put in place an action in order to fight for equity.
And I want to know from you, you mentioned climate gentrification.
Right.
Define that for us. What is that?
So what I mean by climate gentrification, so meaning that already with the climate, so nowadays climate is also one of the biggest drivers and forces towards displacement of individuals in low income neighborhoods, people of
Mm.
color, and with this, with increase of sea rise, air pollution, and even building up on different indigenous land, and as well as even barrier islands, it ends up making the floodplain even increase year by year. Especially dealing with Charleston, it grows an inch every year. So in certain neighborhoods in most vulnerable areas, like parts of North Charleston that are predominantly African American neighborhoods, um it creates a form of gentrification because the wealthier them, that as well as people who have a higher income status, are buying inland and not being able, and the people that are African American predominantly or of low income status are not able to buy into these inland infrastructures or inland housing. So with property values skyrocketing, them that with flood waters rising, there's really no chance for low income and people of color. So in a way, I want to be able to fix this form of gentrification without having people be displaced and be removed from their homes.
Understood. Thank you for that, Charles. That's very
Thank you.
fascinating. I want to know about your experience, right? So just talk to me plainly. Where do you come from?
Right,
What has been some of your professional experience? Tell us about your educational journey as well. Just
right.
kind of walk us through who you are on
Okay.
paper, so that we can understand what experiences you.
I got you. So I'm originally from Buffalo, New York. I grew up in the inner city. East Side kid. Being involved around. I was predominantly around a black neighborhood. Um, and basically, Buffalo in itself is one of the fifth most segregated cities.
Okay.
So with this, there was different opportunities that were not given to us black young people, especially being from the inner city. We were always stereotyped, we was always bashed. So in a way, we had to figure out ways on how to create more opportunities. Um, in this way, I went through an inner city program called Buffalo Prep, which is one of the major programs that gave me the fundamental um, basis on how to create change and how to be a leader in my community. It was a secondary education program alongside my high school program. So it helps inner city kids be able to have a chance. And so through this, growing up, I was able to get into good high schools, and as well as be able to go off to college. Ended up going to Davis Elkins College, located down in West Virginia. That's where I wrestled, and I focused on business management and not-for-profit leadership with a minor in pre-ministry. Um, and then it made me that's where I got involved with being an intern for United Way, being a community engagement intern, as well as being a scholar success coach for Buffalo Prep. So in that way, I'm giving back to the program that has helped me be able to be a representative and a leader to young people of color, and then just give back to my community as a whole. And then, you know, that focuses on my thriving passion for urban planning because it meets all that criteria into one.
Great. That's
Thank,
amazing.
thank
Thank
you.
you for sharing that. Now, I'll just get into it. I gotta jump to this before I jump back into questions about your experience. You do some of the coolest extracurricular activities
Thank
I've
you.
like ever met or interviewed people for. So just tell us about some of your extracurricular activities. What are you doing now,
Right.
at Clemson, and tell us more.
Okay. So far as what I'm doing now at Clemson, you know, I'm still staying with mixed martial arts, wrestling, and jiu-jitsu. That's like my bread and butter. I grew up doing it. Excuse me. I'm also part of the Clemson, excuse me, NAACP. Also the real estate club, and then the Graduate Black Student Association. Part of the executive board for them as well. Focusing on getting into graduate uh the graduate senate group. So basically, you know, where that's where, you know, we get all the nice details of, you know, of with be able to get travel grants for your department. It just basically like an overall just getting involved with the school, especially on the graduate level. Then that also, you know, focusing on the Cleo Bailey project. It's a local community center down in Anderson, South Carolina, where they're focusing on helping the displaced community in Anderson be able to have, you know, fresh foods, be able to get the second the secondary education needed
Mhm,
for the young people in that community to grow. And
mhm,
then also too, I am focusing on being a part of the Call My Name group, which is a initiative started by Clemson, which tells the history of, you know, of African American people of Clemson, between not only the history of Clemson University through the Multicultural Center, but being able to just represent our history in Clemson.
Excellent. You are busy. But
Yes.
I will say you're doing a lot of great work.
Thank
Uh,
you.
Now, Charles, what personally brings you to this work? I know you and I connected at an event right around Gullah Geechee culture. I
Right.
am Geechee, right? I'm proudly doing that work.
So,
And Joe, I just want to ask you on camera for you to share with everyone. What is your connection to this work, and what are we kind of gonna be focused on in our time together?
right. Overall, it's not only identity, trying to find that purpose, trying to find um of what form of connectedness, because, you know, my great grandmother is Geechee, my grandmother is Geechee, and, you know, that, and those stories and those and that blood passed on to my mother, where my mother is, you know, half Geechee and also half Blackfoot Native. So, you know, so from the customs and the culture that was passed on to me, you know, and wanting to find out more about my history, my culture, and then after that, seeing, being able to actually be in close proximity and be able to commit doing what I love, far as urban planning for the Gullah Geechee community, it makes me even more happier just to commit to it. Um, and then after that, just seeing Gullah Geechee leaders, you know, especially with you and Queen Quet, and just seeing how y'all strive and focus, and, you know, and still, you know, from traveling on weekends to going on meetings to, you know, just meeting different politicians, and, you know, just to, you know, take action, And that's one of the biggest things that I admire about both of y'all. And then what I wanted to be a part of.
Thank you, Charles. I must say, Queen Quet over me any day. I'm just in a learning and supporting posture, but I'm grateful to work with the Gullah Geechee Nation, and I'm glad that Goldwater Ventures will continue to be doing a lot of work for the people with Queen Quet and alongside her. So thank you for sharing your personal connection to this work. Okay. So you've mentioned a lot of the social problems, right, that you're doing urban planning and becoming an urban planner to solve. But of course, as you know, part of the Goldwater Impact difference, right, that we're making and bringing to the space is for Afro-Indigenous communities, number one.
Right,
And also folks have to like want to center social good, be bringing a background in public policy and some entrepreneurial spirit or some
right,
entrepreneurial private sector swag. So
right.
please tell us kind of what is your kind of entrepreneurial thoughts, right, or desires in this space as we think about problems from those holistic lenses together.
Okay. So far as my entrepreneurial mindset, especially what I'm doing off the side is getting into real estate, as especially commercial real estate. Um, being able to use commercial real estate into cultural sustainability. When you normally talk about the two, it's a lot of pros and cons, but there is ways where you could create the fundamental, of commercial development and be able to use, development as a whole to not only grow, in order to grow the economic development of a culture and as well as a neighborhood, but also keep it sustainable. Because in this economy, in this world, especially what I have learned in my studies, is that no matter what policies that you create, no matter if it's for the good of the sector or even if it's for developers, everything has a cost. Everything has to show some form of value. So in the way, if you could push policy and push development towards, showing that value, that still protects that culture and protects that form of sustainability. That's I feel like it's a good mix. Um, so
Mhm.
definitely with that, especially with real estate, I want to be able to get into affordable housing. For Afro-Indigenous, displaced people of color, in these hard times, especially just being able just to have opportunities for people to have a roof over their head.
Right. It's very important, when we talk about home.
Right,
Many times we in privilege take home for granted, right? That we just assume that everyone has a home and a dinner table and a stove and a kitchen and a bed and a bathroom. But that's not so for a lot of people, especially people from our experiences,
right,
right? So I really appreciate you thinking about how to build community and build those amenities so that people can celebrate their cultures in a home,
right.
right? So thank you for that, Charles. Now I'm gonna put you on the spot
Gotcha.
and ask you, is there anything you wanna ask me or tell me?
Uh,
I'm not prompted, but I'm open to having this be a two-way dialogue.
okay. What was your first initial goal when you first started out Goldwater Ventures?
Yeah. My initial goal when I started has remained the same.
Right,
It is our vision statement to build an ecosystem of
right,
social good entities that are solving our biggest problems. I know that I cannot work on every issue. I come from a
right,
tech policy background. I've always been interested into doing cultural sustainability work.
right,
Media and entertainment has always been interesting to me. Fast forward, they become the three practice areas, right? That
right.
Goldwater Ventures is in. But as you know, I'm not alone. I have a team, and I'm so glad that you are now on our team
Thank you.
as a fellow. You're more than welcome. And I know that I can't do everything by myself, but what I can do is I can support others in the constellation that are working on those issues. And maybe there needs to just be another layer of support for the people that are leading
Right,
in various sectors. And so that is why I built Goldwater Ventures, to be able to help other social good entrepreneurs and social good organizations
right,
do their missions, right? Their missions
right,
of making all people, right, safer, and us, bringing us all up to a level where we can enjoy the social lives and the economic opportunity and the political and societal participation
right,
that we all should be, right? But doing that in a very granular way of helping organizations, whether it's with finances, whether
right,
it's with a program management, project management, whether that's with investing and impact investing,
right,
or strategic planning and by kind of reformatting a bigger social impact footprint.
right,
And I'm also very clear on it being social good entities. That does not
right,
mean nonprofits or not-for-profits exclusively, right? There
right,
are for-profit entities and social entrepreneurs that want to start for-profit endeavors, right?
right,
That are like centering social good, but they want to make money, which is very admirable.
right.
Um, because we're living in a capitalist society, whether we like it or not,
That's right.
right? And people need resources to give others resources and relief from the misfortunes of life. So, we need a group of people that are going to raise money thinking about how to give it back, how to
Right,
multiply wealth and value, and bring, value and relief and resources to social good missions and people who mean good.
right.
That's a very long answer, but that's my answer. Any other questions? I'm open.
Um, what influenced you in your childhood as well as your young adult life into the actions that you're taking now to make change?
Okay, so remind me not to be interviewed by you because the questions are so good. I think one of the earliest experiences in my life that I remember, I grew up in Philly, but I grew up with both my parents are from the Gullah Geechee Nation. And we come from a mixed background, right? Afro-Indigenous background. Um, just like you, Charles. And I vividly remember my mother cooking and my father, my sister, and I eating together as a family. Those are some of the most precious moments of my life. And I vividly think of how much my mother took to prepare the food, right? She took half an afternoon or a day or 2 days, right? Making food for a
Right,
big meal, a celebratory meal, or a Sunday dinner. Um, the kinds of food that she was making, right? We were living in the North, but we were cooking very Southern, right? It was
right,
very Gullah Geechee food. Your rice, right? Your beans, your potatoes,
right,
things that they grew up growing were the things that we grew up eating, right?
right,
And so I had a very healthy and balanced diet. And so also talking around the table, right? Slipping in and out of English, in and out of Gullah, in and out of these kind of Afro diasporic expressions,
right,
right? I just realized the dinner table growing up was a place of culture making, of community making, of cultural celebration. And that is probably one of the most formative experiences that drives me, right?
right,
I, no longer have my mother. So of course I think about just how much she sacrificed and the work that Marva Ruth Albert put into right, making homemaking for us, making dinner for us, making home for us,
Right.
and bringing the culture into it seamlessly. And I will say, another experience that shaped me. This is a great question. Of course, my time at, I'd say, throughout Catholic school growing up. I
Right.
went to Waldron Mercy Academy, LaSalle College High School. At LaSalle, when you walked in, it was enter to learn, and the sign exiting is leave to serve. So
Right.
I was always imbued with the sense of service, right? That I
Right.
was given opportunity, that I was given skills and experience. And my job was to make a living, but also to like help others, right?
Right.
And give that for the betterment of people. So I would
Right.
definitely say my Catholic school education,
Right.
um, even extending to
Right.
Georgetown University Law Center,
Yes, sir.
also has that mission, right, of cura personalis and preparing yourself to do good in the legal field. Um, I also want to say Morehouse College, right? My
Right.
time at Morehouse also, right? Where the greats such as Martin Luther King, Maynard Jackson, Howard Thurman, Spike Lee,
Right.
just others, right? Who graduated from Morehouse civil rights leaders. It's not just about civil rights, but it's about all rights, right? Human rights,
Right.
women's rights, indigenous rights, all rights, right? Until
Right.
we are all free, none of us are free. And we are bound together in this earthly experience. And our task as a human race is to make it better and equitable for everyone.
Right.
So Morehouse really taught me that, of course. And then I'm going to stop talking without just my experiences traveling
Right.
throughout the African diaspora and throughout the world, where I've just been so inspired by Afro diasporic culture, but so inspired by world cultures. I've had the privileges of living in Europe, of living in Asia for multiple years at a time, and seeing parts of the world and connecting with people. We may not speak the same language, we may
Right.
not have the same dinner table, right?
Right.
But it is through analogy of human experience that we can connect. You may not cook the same foods that I do, right? Or that I grew up eating, but
Right.
we both eat foods that celebrate our cultures, right?
Right. Yes, ma'am.
I may not speak your language, Japanese, Chinese, or any other language that I don't speak. But I can always learn a language, right?
Right.
I speak a few languages, so I love learning languages. And uh we all have a language that we cry in, right? So my language might be English, Gola, French, Spanish, etc. But this person might be Mandarin, right? Or Vietnamese or other African languages, but we all have a language that we cry in, that we feel in. So by analogy, we can communicate, right? And those
Right.
are just some of the experiences traveling throughout the Caribbean, North America, uh, South America, the Europe, Asia.
Right.
I'm blessed to have traveled. And I'll say like just those experience of communicating with people beyond language
Right.
is it tells me that we can do this work and we're not going to step over the voices and the wills of people, but
Right.
we're going to build with them, right? As partners. And them lend us something and we lend them something and we
Yes.
learn together through working together. So any other questions, Charles? I'm a little long-winded.
Uh, that's all I got right now.
Okay. I'm glad. Whew. The rest. Charles, thank you so much for talking with me, for sharing yourself with me, and for sharing yourself and your work and your passions with the world. We are honored to have you as
Thank
our
you.
inaugural Goldwater Impact Fellow. And please stay tuned, everyone, to hear more about what Goldwater Ventures Impact Fellows are doing. You will hear from them on a very regular basis with me or without me. So I'm very excited to introduce everyone to the full cohort, but I wanted to start first with an in-depth interview from our first inaugural Goldwater Impact Fellow, Charles E. Morrison. So,
Thank you.
Charles, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.